Hi, this is Keith from White Rose Canoe. Welcome to our March 2024 Gather at the White Rose, where the topic will be all about canoes and fishing. Our speaker is David Hadden, who has over 50 years experience canoe fishing. He's going to share what he's learned with all of us. And now, here's David.
Good. So, with a small group, I guess I just would like to hear why you guys came, just so I can kind of just change it up a little bit to help you guys so you go away and get those questions answered that you wanted. So typically I'll talk a little bit about outfitting. We can talk a little bit about boat designs. Rick sees this boat a lot. This is my daily fishing boat. You saw it the other day. So I can talk a little bit about how I've outfitted that. But is there anything specific you guys wanted to come away with? Maybe someone wanted to learn about motors or any aspect or square sterns?
For me, I fish out of kayak now, and I'm kind of looking to get something a little more. I fished out of canoes, but the bigger ones, so that's what I'm kind of looking at. Maybe downsizing to a solo, something that's easy to maneuver, ponds, and some different places I can make a lot.
Yeah.
And mostly fly fish, so
okay.
That's the other thing is less gear in the way ropes like for the kayak.
Oh yeah.
That's why I get fly caught now. So that's why I'm here today.
I came for the chips and the company.
Big
So, just to listen to how you do your thing.
Oh, cool.
Basically.
All right. Well, good. And why are you here?
I'm just here to heckle Dave.
Just here to heckle Dave. Well, thanks for coming. Well, good. Well, then why don't I just talk a little bit about, we'll start with kind of your question, which is a little bit, I'll talk about the boat that I use and why I choose to use it, and then outfitting, because it seems like it's going to address, some of those things. So I should tell you first, I work for Esquif, so my boat isn't a skiff, but these guys have very 40 different boats here on the floor and another 40 or 30 up in the warehouse. So they have this same boat in different materials, but I personally fish out of the Esquif and I do work for the company. So one of the reasons I've chosen this boat is it's super durable. To me, I wanted a boat that I didn't have to worry about. Rick and I fish a lot. We'll be out on tides. Rick hears my boat land when I drop it off my truck, and then it's, again, I have it set up so it's pretty easy and I can just quickly throw my gear into it and I'm on my way fishing. A lot of what I think you're doing for simplicity.
Yep.
I pretty much use this this bag. You've seen it. I have two different bags set up. One for freshwater for trout for this time of year, and then Rick sees my green saltwater one all the time. But I like having a simple little bag like this where pretty much all my gear for the day can go into it. These are made multiple ways. There's many different companies that make these. One of the most popular ones right now is a Yak Attack black box, you might have heard of. It's a little bit longer than this one. Your typical milk crates, work great for fishing. You can purchase something like this easy triple rod holder and mount it on the side of a simple milk crate, and you got the same thing I have for about probably $20. This is probably $15, but these are also cool too. I mean, many different places you can mount this on a boat if you wanted to. Pretty simply put something here to mount it right with a set of screws, or if you want to just with some Tyvek straps. Pretty simple to do for any of your tandem boats as well. I personally like my rods up in the air, depending on people might be fishing in tree area where there's trees or small creeks, and they don't like doing that. I mean, that is something nice with this. You can mount something like this, under a seat or something as well, and then have all your boats, inside the boat if you wanted, or you could change the angle of it, maybe as you mounted it, and have the rods at various degree angles. But I personally put mine straight up.
I see you carry a fly rod a lot, but I don't see, how do you hold it on here?
So the fly rods are nice because the reel seat will lock right into here.
So it just sets in that short.
Yeah, in the short area that's cut
Okay.
out. The same thing for a spinning reel to drop into.
But the spinning reel has the handle beyond the handle, so it's more sturdy.
Yeah, this again, you might have to trim that a little bit for a specific fly rod,
Okay.
depending on them. But most of them, I know I've worked with these guys at Select Design, so we did size it appropriately. Yeah, most of these should work to go right on. I'll put this one.
I understand what you're trying to do, I just didn't know about how sturdy it was to stay in there when you're moving around.
Well, and we use more of the saltwater rod ones. This is an older.
No, I understand the concept, you gotta get the right one to fit or make it fit, sure.
The best setup for a fly rod is the guys at Scotty make a standard fly rod mount, and that's probably the best fly rod carrier that you can use. That's the one you have. Yeah. So one of my I apologize, but with the group, as questions come, we'll just kind of bounce all around a little bit. But there's two common ways of doing these. One is to do it where a male and female part will go together. The other new popular way is to make it with these parts that will slide in. And this is kind of neat because these pieces can go in and slide. This is a paddle holder. I use it for a push pole on my boat sometimes. That is just a piece to make that same kind of insert on it. These are kind of nice because you can pretty much, on a canoe, mount these on almost any type of thwart. I have seen a couple of people mount them on some of the wooden gunnels, depending on the wooden gunnel on the inside. Gives you a lot of different options. It's nice on these thwarts some also because the way this is set up, this won't hang up above it. When you put it on a roof rack, it won't be dragging it on anything. So this is a Yak Attack version. They also make these in this is one by Select. Scotty makes a similar one. This can mount on pretty much any part of the boat.
Yeah, that's what I mounted on.
That's what you put on
use
yours.
that with the-
I don't need.
Yeah, I'm all Scottied up.
You're all Scottied up. Oh, perfect. Yeah. And again, some people like Yak Attack makes theirs out of metal. If you are using it, maybe for like when you saw me the other day, we were trolling. I don't think any of those trout we were trolling for were going to pull a rod holder off, but the nice thing is that to use the metal versus the plastic, some of you are going for bigger species fish, like some of the stripers Rick catches, he definitely been breaking plastic all the time. Those are a couple of PDS. You notice a friend of mine has a company called Yellow Dog Kayak Accessories. They make thwarts, so you can simply replace the thwart on your boat with these. The nice thing is that the owner Craig is they're a small company, but if you say I need one X inches wide, you can pretty much just get the width of your existing thwart and he can custom make them for you. This one's kind of nice. This is, again, he can make it either way. He can make it with Scotty or with the Scotty slide track system. The slide track definitely seems to be becoming more and more popular now, especially with brands like Yak Attack. Well, any of them now, where you can just get so much. You can put cup holders, anything you want onto it. I do like his. It has a little. I like to keep a couple set of pliers on the boat at all times, so it's nice. It has a little plier in it. Depending on how light you want to keep the boat, this Adirondack weighs about 45 pounds. So again, as you add more and more things to it, you're going to add a couple of pounds. But a foot brace is a nice thing, I think, to put into a boat. It's going to keep a lot of your lower half of your body from falling asleep. If you do get in any waves, Rick sees me a lot. I've noticed he's taking this down in the ocean on the right day to fish. With my skill level, I'm not trying to be arrogant. it's not a problem. Someone would have to have the appropriate skills to do that, but that is a nice reason to have something like a foot brace so you can hold yourself in the boat more secure. I like the bars, which go all the way across. I just find it's an easy way to change my leg position, and your hips won't go to your knees and everything. I'm getting older, so you can also just take a traditional, these are just your standard kayak foot braces, and those can easily be, I just do it with a rivet in the hull. You want it to be about 4 to 5 inches off the floor of the boat, and then with 2 rivets, you can install it into the boat. Nice thing on these is they're pretty simple to adjust. You basically just push the red button and you can slide it back and forth. Mine are just on a knob to move back and forth. These are also much cheaper. Most of the foot braces, because they use a lighter alloy aluminum, I don't know, that one's probably somewhere between $45 and $60, where I think these are $45, $45, $45. They even will make those in carbon for you, and you can get it even lighter and go up to $100 and some odd dollars. But the foot brace for me is something that's not standard in many of the canoes, but it's a nice piece to add as you might be outfitting your boat.
So that's all that is. It's not for extra stability.
I'm sorry.
It's not for extra stability on the boat, right? It's just.
Well, it is going to allow you to stabilize the boat more.
Yeah.
You know, your stability comes from the hull design, but as you can sit in the boat more solid, what you want to do a lot of times as you get on waves is you want to edge the boat ever so slightly. So to edge the boat, that allows you to stay in a more solid position inside the boat. You can edge it. Maybe you get hit by a wave. Again, just having that foot brace will keep you from getting jostled on the boat at all and having a sudden shift of weight in the boat.
I always thought that was just a brace for the canoe itself. I didn't realize that was your foot brace.
Yeah, no, it's not. Well, you're correct. Typically, you have the braces will be like a thwart,
Right.
and you know, some people say, oh, can I remove these thwarts from my dog? No, they are, as you say, an integral part of the boat. But that is actually a separate one. Yeah, and it really doesn't take the place. Like someone said to me, well, why do you have the thwart still and the foot brace? Because this is up at the gunwale, and that's really meant for bracing your feet rather than holding the shape of the boat. This boat's built in a material called T-Formex. So T-Formex is a multi-layer material. It has foam in the center, then it has a hard ABS plastic. It's one of the most durable materials out there. It doesn't distort in sunlight and heat at all, which I like a lot. You can bang this boat with a hammer and you're not going to do anything but maybe put a small scratch in it. You can drag it if you're fishing in shallow water. Rick and I come out of this shallow water area a lot to fish and right at low tide. You know, there's a couple stretches where you need to actually just, well, you can lift and carry your boat. I just drag mine. You can, if you want to, at the end, you can flip it over and you can see a couple of the areas of wear on the bottom, but it pretty much just wears away, but it's indestructible. It's a nice thing to have for someone like myself who wants a real rugged boat. And one of the nice things here is these guys have several different models, so if you're like, well, what if I wanted to get it something that was 20 pounds lighter? They would have that option for you. They could take you to a Kevlar boat or even a carbon boat and do that. Again, you can see many of the different Kevlar and carbon models around. What example? What is a Trapper 13 or Trapper or
12.
Trapper 12? Yeah. What does that weigh in a Kevlar layout?
30.
Yeah, it's about 30.
Yeah.
About 30. Yeah, about 30 pounds in that area.
So you're going to take off about 15 pounds of weight. And for some people that's nice. You know, you might be carrying it into, you know, a small little pond that you want to fish on. You know, and there with a portage yoke, that's going to be nothing. So a lot of times if you do want to portage the boat, I do, and I should have brought it. You can get a detachable yoke that I'll put back in here just when I'm not when I'm paddling, and then when I want to portage the boat, I can put a yoke just like the yoke you might see on that model there. you can mount it right in front. For our boats, they balance right over the paddler, that's the center point of the boat. So to put a yoke here, it will balance nice and even up onto your shoulders for carrying it into certain sections.
Yeah, and if you want the upside down canoe on the wall there, that's one of those trappers, and that's in the Airman Light.
Yeah. So that's a great, comparison as you look and see, what you may want to do. Very similar designs. I mean, some small details between the designs, but these boats are made to be stable. Rigs me out and stand up in this if I need to fish. It's going to handle. This boat, I can take it down a Class 2 river and it's fine. That boat again, if you're going into a lot of really backcountry areas to fish, we might have to portage. That's something you definitely think about because it's half the weight. Some other just standard accessory items that you might want to think about. I think did we talk about anchoring the other day? Did you and I?
No, but I was going to ask you about that. How you anchor?
Yeah. So there's kits that you can get to kind of build a trolley on the side of the boat. Again, most of the time it's going to require drilling in your boat and then riveting to put in pieces. But it's nice to put an anchor trolley that will go all the way from the bow all the way to the stern of the boat. That will give you so it's like a clothesline when it's on the trolley.
Yep.
You'll have some sort of pulley up here, a pulley back there. You'll probably have something in here just to keep the rope from flapping in the water, and then you can work it on a trolley line. That will allow you to, if you want to, maybe you're on a stream and you want to have an anchor off the bow, and you want to fish a seam off to the side, you could do that. You could anchor off the stern if you're fishing like streamers or woolly buggers. Anchor off the stern, and then you can kind of fish a hole and kind of swing a fly around. Yep. So again, it's always nice. It's very easy to just run. Here's my anchor system. I usually keep it right in this bag. About 30 feet of line. And yeah, again, if I ever need to just anchor up quickly, like the wind the other day, like these, that would have been great to when we saw that spot where the fish were. They weren't really anywhere else in the lake that we could find.
Yep.
That's the time to just maybe throw on an anchor and just kind of hold in that point. And then, especially when you fly fishing, that would have been a great opportunity to fly fish and do that. But as I say, having the trolley just makes it very easy. You'll have a little circular, like a brass ring in the center,
Yeah.
and then you can just feed the line however you have to. And that, again, is a really nice option to have to give you multiple ways to anchor. Just while I'm going over these parts, one thing I always like to also have when I'm fishing from the kayak is some way to, or canoe, some way to handle the fish once you get the fish close to the boat. Rick, I think when I first met you, you weren't using a net, right? And then especially as you went to a lot of topwater fishing where you get multiple trebles flopping around, you definitely went to a net, and your net has the plastic, the rubberized, so you're not going to hurt the fish in any way. It also, if you don't do that, the biggest reason is to not harm the fish. Second biggest reason is you're always going to get a hook stuck in it, and pretty soon you're going to cut the net apart and need to do a net replacement. I also like a Boca grip. Again, quick, easy way to handle the fish. It also, many of them will have scale on it, so if you do want to, I always lie to Rick about how much mine weighs, but he'll sometimes ask me, we'll put it on the Boca grip and we'll get an exact weight.
Hold that still for a minute, David.
Yes, so Boca grip. I use the original Boca grip. They're a little pricey. This is probably 20 years old, and while it was about $100 at the time, it holds up really well. Again, it's pretty easy. So if you're fighting a fish, especially if you get some toothy fish like the bluefish around here, or if you're on pike, or even the pickerel, it's nice just to be able to get a lip lock on the fish quick and easy. And now all I really have to do to control that is hold this. If you have a little line, one of my boats has a piece of line here with a clip, a carabiner on it. Now I can just carabiner that right to the fish. The fish can stay in the water, revive itself. Now I can move my line around. If you get it going around, you can get to a different spot on the boat, so or on the water. So again, I like a Boca grip. A lot of people will use a net. I was using a net the other day when we fished If you are fishing with a net, they used to call them canoe nets or boat nets. It's really nice to get a longer handle one. Again, the fish is maybe making a run. You want to revive the fish very quickly, so a longer handle net will really help you a lot in landing the fish on the boat. My boat net, I think the handle on it is probably about 3 feet long. And again, it's also for the safety of the fish. You're not just having to thrash around next to the boat. I used to guide a lot for canoes and kayaks, and most of the time when the customer would tip over in the kayaks was landing and releasing the fish. I mean,
Easy to do, sure.
yeah, I mean, it makes all it. Not to mention the fact, when you fish the topwater, maybe you're fishing some, whatever you like to fish for topwater bait, but those trebles moving around, it's really it saves your hands a lot, because a lot of times when I see people get a treble hook in their hand or a fly in their hand, it's usually they get it spit or something right at the boat when it comes into the boat. That's another nice thing is to have some sort of a rod holder. My setup is typically done, as you saw the other day, I'll usually have, the other day we were trolling on the area we were fishing, but it's nice to have a place you can lock and secure your rod into. I can always reach behind and put my rod in one of these. To me, I always like to have one of these on the bow just so that I can just quickly put my rod into, and you don't have to worry about dropping your rod over the boat.
Plus with it in front of you, you can see when it gets hit.
Yeah.
Behind you, you gotta.
Well, exactly. A lot of guys just used to, on the kayaks, go with the standard rod holders, which kind of kept the rod in this position right here. You wouldn't see some of those. But when you've gotten those sea trout, that tape is so subtle that again, having the rod tip up here to see what's going on. Also, when we were fishing the other day, I like a lot of those lures, like the Rappalas I was running, or the Super Dupers, or even the spoons. It's important you see that you're not fouled up on your lure, your fly as well if you're doing it, and you can just see that very you have no chance of seeing it when it's behind you in the boat. I mean, again, most of your standard equipment that you use is all the same. I mean, your boxes. I mean, you may want to go with a waterproof box rather than a non-waterproof with the canoe, because it is an open surface and a good chance to get some salt water mixed in. Again, we probably I no need to talk about any of the equipment unless anyone wants to ask further about any of the equipment that I carry. It is always nice to carry a knife, even if you're practicing catch and release. I was fishing a stream or a lake the other day, and I ended up getting a gentleman on shore, and I got hooked up on our lines together. He for some reason wanted to keep pulling on it while I was trying to release my treble hook from his line, and it was getting to that point where I was going to cut his line, because there was a very good chance if we kept doing that I was going to have treble hook in my hand. Also, you may get snagged sometime on something. Again, depending on the weight line you're using, the current that you're in, you may just have to just cut that line quickly, lose the lure, fly line, everything. But again, if you're in current a lot of times and you do get snagged on something, that can really change the position of your boat. In a kayak, it's not a problem because you have that deck to protect you. But in a canoe, if you do that and you get pulled and you lean upstream, it's probably going to flip the boat. So the safety, and again, in all honesty, this doesn't really help me much back here. I usually have some sort of a knife with me somewhere where I can access it quicker, nicely to keep in some way, shape, or form on a PFD, or just a simple line cutter of sorts, where you can just make a quick cut on a line just to free yourself. Knife's going to help you if it's anything else. We talked about the anchor line. Again, depending on the current that you might be in, there are sometimes where you're in a bad situation. Maybe even just a power boat comes by the lake and all of a sudden you get those waves and now something's happened, you flip, now a current or something. To have the ability to cut any lines that you have in the water is very important. And that usually is on my PFT and not in that cases of fillet mostly. So that's pretty much the standard way I outfit my boat. Again, it sounds like you've done a fair bit of outfitting. I mean, you it's always evolving with myself as well. What Rick saw last summer, I've made some changes now. You know, I don't know if you have anything to
Sure. Well,
add.
I would say, well, probably like you, I grew up in a canoe, and back in the day, like that rod holder would be 6 pounds. It was aluminum casts, and everything was heavy. The paddles were heavy. The featherlight paddles, which were not featherlight at all. So I think that's been an improvement for everything. Regarding outfit, it's really personal preference. Regarding foot brace, it's fine if you're fishing, but if you're packing, you don't want a bar because it gets in the way of your pack. And pick your seat wisely. Your seat needs to be comfortable.
I noticed Dave doesn't fish with the back. I took a canoe out when it didn't have a back, and I found it very uncomfortable without it.
Congratulations, you're human.
Yeah. How he does it without a back, I just
Yeah.
don't understand.
Yeah, so you're exactly right. In fact, I almost brought, I have GCI makes a really nice seat back that goes over all the seats. Thermarest makes a nice one as well. And they pretty much snap onto the seat very easily. I might even give you one after I watched you suffer for 2 days. I can't remember whether I gave you one or just watched you suffer. I probably just watched you suffer. Yeah, but you're exactly.
GCI is a nice seat, especially if you like to stretch. It's very durable, so you kind of put all your weight on it, and
Okay. Do you guys have a GCI seat by any chance with seat backs?
Yeah.
Us purist guys, we like to suffer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's some seats right there.
Yeah, there's a standard one. I think that is. Yeah.
Back. You don't get it.
Yeah, and those are. I mean, that simple seat, as you say, will make things 10 times more comfortable. Rick watches me. I'm constantly going back into this word bag, so I don't use it. The other times where I won't use it, it doesn't sound like anyone here really wants to talk about motors at all. Although you're a good motorhead, so maybe we'll talk about motors. But that is a let's just say it has 5 speeds. If you're running the middle speeds, which is the most efficient way to go, you can run it at about 4 miles an hour for about 2.5 hours at 4 miles an hour. Most of the time, you're not even fishing at that. You might run it up river at 4 miles and then drift down, so you have quite a bit of running time. The interesting thing that these guys have come out with on this motor is that there's actually a detachable battery now that will go. It will probably weigh an extra ½ pound, but that will give you another 2.5 hour running time. If you're running in 1.5 miles, you'll probably be able to run about 8 hours of time.
Can you mount that one on here? Is that
Yeah, so
for the
I almost I stole a friend of mine's motor mount, and you actually can mount the motor mount. You'd almost want to do it about where this is. Do you guys happen to have a motor mount by any chance? So the standard motor mounts will mount with a bracket piece. You pretty much will twist a knob to tighten them, and you'll create a transom over in this area, right about here. So you can run pretty much any a motor on it, even a boat this small. That is the nice thing about this motor is that Rick runs a trolling motor from time to time. Your average trolling motor is yours about the same weight as this, or a little lighter?
Kind of what about that, but the battery's separate.
Yeah, and that's the big thing, is that it's all in one with the battery. The nice thing also is this piece right here, which normally I would click to my PFD. So this controls your throttle speed forward and reverse. So your steering is done here. A lot of times, when we're fishing, we're just running back upriver at the end of fishing an outgoing tide. So you can pretty much just sit back with your feet up and just work the speed control on it. Nice thing I like here is also that your prop is actually enclosed, so it makes it easier for weeds.
Yeah,
But it's a pretty neat little motor that you'll start seeing to come to market here. It's called the Kicker motor, and it's made by a company out of Norway, Trust Me. This also, charge it up. Let's see what happens. So pretty simple, pretty slick and simple. So this actually, if you ever were running it and you had to make a quick shutting it off, all you do is pull that, and it will automatically kill the motor. This should also shows you how much charge time you have left. Should be able to get this going too. So again, there's no, it's not like a standard motor where you'll twist it. All the controls right here for the speed.
You said that's 1.5 horsepower?
1.5, yeah.
That's amazing.
Do they give those away free with each canoe here? Or?
Yeah, well, I don't know, man. These guys, you know, with that canoe.
Well, they give a free canoe with each motor. How much does it cost?
Cost of it is this is about. So I'm hearing of a price reduction to $1,100. It's currently at $1,300, which is about the same price as a 3.5 horse gas motor. I don't have it synced right now, so I don't know what it is.
You're not having a drawing between the three of us for that motor tonight?
Well, now that's a great idea.
As a canoe shop, I'm actually pretty happy that you don't have any motors for.
Yeah.
I put a torpedo one at the end of last
And that would probably run at about an hour and a half. It does have a little bit of noise to it, more so than some. But again, it's out of the water. So anyways, just something to talk a little bit
I think it
about.
also frosts your milk for your latte in the morning.
Well, you could do that, right? Yeah, you could put that in the right cup.
You didn't talk about your paddle. What are you running for a paddle? How long? Type of blade do you like? Yada yada.
So I mean, you have two options here. One is it being a canoe, you can run it with a single or a double-bladed paddle. In this boat right here, because it's a shorter boat, and because a lot of times I'm fishing, I find it easier to control the double-bladed paddle. Now I know a canoeist purist right here is probably looking at me like, what? But most people, because you're dealing with wind, again, fishing winds, currents, tides, any of those, I find using the double-bladed paddle. And typically I'm using a 230. Some people like to go up to a 240. I usually will use any of my standard paddles, which are 220 or 230. I use a higher stroke, so you use a higher stroke, a typical kayak stroke. You can probably get by with a 220, 230. A lower stroke where you're protecting your shoulders a little bit more, maybe a 240. Usually when I'm in my 12-footer, again, you know, almost all the time when I'm fishing, I'm using a double-bladed paddle. Again, it's just a quicker way to go. It's a little bit more efficient. It just gives me, I think, a better setup for fishing. When I go to anything above this for a canoe, I'm usually then using a non-bent shaft, straight shaft paddle. I do like a lot of the beaver tails that they have. I even will use a guide paddle a lot, or I'll carry, as Keith does, 2 paddles. So I'll have a shorter paddle, which is sometimes easier if I'm just controlling the boat, staying on a fishing spot. And then I like to have a longer, do you have any guide paddles, any longer ones like a 68 or
I don't think we've got any 68s, but we've got 63s.
Yeah, 63. So, you know, it's nice sometimes having a longer paddle. You know, Rick's noticed there's a couple places I like to fish where that's when I lose him for the day because he can't get back into there with his pedal drive kayak, and I can sneak into a lot of these little creeks and find a lot of fish on the creeks. And in a lot of those situations, I will pull the boat. So I have brought a push pole with me, a normal push pole, and my guide paddle is about 66 inches, and I can paddle with that either standing, which is a nice option to have, or I can use it just to pull along the bottom line. You can see I have this this piece here, which will actually hold a push pole for me. So I have a push pole that I can mount this on my boat with this setup right here, and then carry a 10-foot push pole on the boat. A thing that works nicely as well is to use a traditional Greenland style kayak paddle, which works great as a push pole, and also gives you the ability to just have one paddle that you use all day. If you don't want to, we talked about being a minimalist before. Again, I kind of like everything, maybe a couple things inside the boat, but I pretty much like everything in that gear bag. I always joke with Rick. Rick probably gets to the ramp. What do you think, Rick? Usually about 20 minutes before me.
At least 20 minutes.
And he usually leaves the ramp about 20 minutes after me. But he has a motor, has to hook up a battery, he has a trailer that he has to bring. I mean, for me, I pretty much like everything in my bag. I put the 3 rods in the rod holder, drop my bag in, grab my paddle, and I'm gone. So again, for me, I like it because, I mean, there's many times he's got a great kayak fishing setup. I mean, his would go in the ocean much better. He has a pedal drive setup, so it's very efficient to cover a lot of distances. Actually, he has a motor on it now too. But again, the main reason I probably should have started with this is the simplicity of the canoe, because I think its best feature as a fishing vessel. One of the things
how fast you're on and off the water, I always shake my head. How fast you're on and off.
Well, retired guys, and
now it doesn't
just
matter.
retired guys, you guys don't, it doesn't matter to you, but I have to be back at my desk at 8 o'clock because I have a French Canadian boss one, and we've sold enough canoes to shops on the list. So for me, I have to be back. The one thing I would say is we've kind of honed in on this boat that I use, but if we could, there's a bunch of boats that they have here that actually make excellent fishing kayaks as well, or fishing canoes. I'm sorry, I'm getting in my head. This is the one drawback to a 12-foot boat is it's a 12-foot boat. So you get out on bigger seas. Obviously there's not a chance to carry someone else with me in this boat. Even sometimes, a couple of times when I've been going back to some of these flat areas, I'm going to be standing up. Keith pulls the canoe a lot. I mean, if you're going to pull, or if I'm going to be literally pulling on a flat, a lot of times I will go up to a 16-foot boat because it's just a much nicer vessel for pulling, or even for stand-up fishing. You can stand and fish in this, but again, if I were really going to be sight fishing someday, maybe maybe something like carp, or around here carp, or even the stripers when they're up on the flats tailing. At that point, I'm going to probably go up to a 16-foot boat more often because it's much nicer to pull. And in that, it's just because the boat's longer, it's going to track better. It's going to be easier to pull and to pull at a decent amount of speed if you had to move from one area to another. You typically use your Novacraft.
I have a Novacraft PAL, which is a 16-foot tandem that I use, and it pulls nicely. It really does. If I were a better puller, it would do it even better. So
You said they also makes a 14-foot.
We do. So the 14-foot version is called the Echo.
Yeah.
I almost brought an Echo tonight because you wanted to see one. I just didn't get it on the car quick enough. I think you guys might have an Echo.
Yeah, we do.
In stock. I don't see one around, but so the Echo is going to be a little bit narrower than this boat. It's going to be about, I think, a ½ inch or an inch less deep. Which is nice. It won't be affected by the wind as much. Again, if you're in waves, it might be a little bit wetter. But I've never. People always say, "Oh, it's got this much freeboard. It's going to be a wet boat." Well, there's a lot of ways that rather than leaning into a wave sometimes, as you kind of let the boat ride up and over it, you can keep the boat dry. And again, back in the day, people ran a lot of whitewater boats that were half the canoe depth that they are now, even some of the slalom racing boats. So you can keep the smaller boat drier. But I do like the Echo rig. That's the brown boat I fish a lot. So I fish that boat a lot if I'm going to cover ground. Again, the one thing between the two, where you saw me the other day, we were on that small lake, and I would maybe paddle 2 or 3 miles at most in the two hours I was there. Sometimes with Rick and I would go way back in 4 miles or so, and then we'll fish around in there for another mile or two paddling, and then we'll have to paddle out for 4 miles. And that's definitely a day that when Rick would see me bring in a longer boat, because you do pick up, gosh, at least 3/4 of a mile an hour speed of fishing. And, if I had to have one boat, I might even use the 14-footer. Surprisingly, although it's an inch narrower, it's got this almost the same stability, because your stability in a boat is usually it's the design of the boat, so they both get hull designs, but then it's your wetted surface in the water. So because that boat has a longer wetted surface in the water, and it gives it about the same stability as this boat.
Is that a tandem or a solo?
That's a solo.
Solo also.
Yeah. So my tandems, they have a lot of great tandems to use. There's a Prospector 15 here, which is a great boat. This Explorer 16. So this is a really nice boat if someone's looking for a fishing canoe in the 16-foot length range. The Explorer is about 38 inches wide, so again, super stable. This is a boat that's very easy to stand up and fish in. Again, when you take the 38-inch width and the 16-foot length, it's more stable to stand up in than this boat, significantly more stable. And again, that's why, Keith, when you're pulling if you were pulling like a 12-foot boat that was as wide as your normal solo 12-foot boat, it would be hard to pull that boat. So a lot of guys do like this for a boat like this if they're going to be standing up and fly fishing, although it is longer. Luckily with this boat, it looks like it's made in a Kevlar layup, and it probably weighs only about 39 pounds, so it's probably actually lighter than this boat. Yeah. But again, I like a lot of little solo boats, just like the solo fishing canoes. But again, in certain water conditions, if I lived down in Florida or something, or if I was fishing the flats more often, maybe down on Cape Cod or somewhere, 100% I would be using a boat like this a lot, because then there would be stand up, there would be sight fishing options that are a little trickier than in a shorter 12-foot boat. A lot of good solo, this Prospector is an excellent, this is a Prospector 15. Now that would be kind of for someone who might want to paddle it more solo, but have a tandem options for fishing. Maybe someone with a family might go with a boat like the Prospector 15. These guys we make it in the T-Formex. Here it is in a looks like a
Kevlar coating.
Kevlar with a basalt interior. Again, that's a great little boat for someone who wants to solo or tandem, and just kind of in between these two options. This boat probably weighs about 37 pounds. They could build one in a version for probably about 35 pounds for you. So it's again even lighter than this boat. Again, the biggest thing when you get into the 16-foot boats is just to make sure that you're trimming it properly. Most of the people also who I would suggest fishing from a 15-foot boat, now you're probably not using a kayak paddle. Going to our earlier question, now you pretty much would be committed to a canoe paddle, so you would want to have decent canoe skills to begin with to fish more on the tandem canoe. And that's why so many people do go with this, because it's a very easy. Someone can, I take some writers out in boats or people from my neighborhood, and they'll want to fish. This is just a boat that I can put anyone in and have them fish on almost pretty much any day of the week, even in rougher conditions. Again, it's nice with some of these 15-footers because again, for no one here tonight, but if you had a family, again, we're not going to talk about hunting tonight because no one mentioned hunting, but like this would be now if I'm carrying one of my retrievers, decoys, in colder water temperatures, maybe building a blind once I get there and I have all that gear, you know, that's a nice way, another reason to go with a 15-footer. It gives you options for camping for multiple day trips, which don't really exist in you'd have to pack right to do it in a boat that size.
Yeah. David, we've got one over here as well, the angler. that
Oh
you
yeah,
might wanna
yeah.
talk about.
So this angler is pretty cool. And Keith, you know, I'm gonna let you talk about the angler only because you're more from. You guys have, as I understand, this is the first angler boat in the U.S.
We think so, yeah, we think it is.
But again, I looked at it earlier. This would be an excellent choice. I'll let you explain
Okay.
some of the features of this boat.
So this is a Novacraft Angler 15. It's a revival boat in that they sold them through, I don't know, 2018 or something, and then they discontinued it and they brought it back. The thing that makes it's a dedicated fishing canoe. That's by the name you can kind of tell that. And one of the things that makes it, if you can see this, and I'm trying to get it on film, sorry for stepping in front of you guys, but it has what's known as a lot of tumble home. So you have a very wide boat down, and I can't see what I'm showing because I'm pointing, but down at this area, thank you, sir. You can see how the gunnels are pulled in and it widens out below. So what that does is give you, for paddling, you're not having to reach as far because your gunnels are pulled in. But this bulge adds a tremendous amount of stability to the boat. So if you're thinking, you know, for folks who are standing and fishing, this is a really, really stable platform for them to use. It is a 15-foot, it's set up as a tandem. Most tandems of 15-foot length can be easily soloed. Any one of these, regardless. And essentially the starting point is you just turn the boat around. You sit on the bow seat facing the stern. You put a little bit of weight in the front to keep the trim right so you're not riding along like this. And you're good to go. And water ballast, you're on the water, so it's easy to get water ballast to do that with. And it can be rigged up much as David had said. But it's an interesting hull shape that really makes it a nice, stable platform that still moves well through the water. So David, back to you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Just kind of showing a couple of other boats that you might, again, just so you guys are kind of aware of what some other options are. This is a really nice raccoon. It's made by Realm Canoe out of Canada. This is would be a square stern canoe. Predominantly, this would be motored. You do see special flotation chambers in both the bow and the stern, which is going to give it extra flotation, again, and also to handle some of the Coast Guard restrictions with motors. This boat takes a 5 horsepower motor. In the Kevlar layup, it weighs about 57, 58 pounds, I believe.
Something like that, yeah.
So it's still very easy to carry if you needed to carry it somewhere. One of the nice things about this boat is that it actually paddles fairly nicely as well. So again, if you're going to paddle it 50% of the time, something you could have and have it run a larger motor on it as well. As I say, it's super light when you do it in the Kevlar version. It's about 58 pounds. Super stable. It's about 40 inches wide. Again, no one here today said motors, but if you have any friends that are looking at some motorized options, it's a great boat to go with. This Explorer 14 is another Realm boat. It's about 40 inches wide. Again, weighs, looks like this is another Kevlar with the basalt in it as well. So this is going to, with the wood trim, weighing in the 40-pound range. But some people have mentioned fly fishing and standing up. This is a super boat to stand up and fly fish from. It can be paddled tandem if you want to paddle the tandem some. It's a lot as a wider solo for a single person for fly fishing. Very popular with the fly fishermen. They have here we have another another. This is a similar version of that boat. I mean, almost. That boat's a little deeper, probably has about an inch and a half more depth to it. But this is another skiff boat. This is the Scout. Almost, as I say, everything about the same. This weighs about 49 pounds. Can be paddled solo. We even have some guys that paddle it solo with a kayak paddle for fishing. Again, when I get up to about a 14-foot boat, I usually paddle it with a canoe paddle, but great boat. This one, again, for someone who's thinking, I want to stand up and fish, a lot of times you're going to get that stability from either going with a longer boat and getting more, as we talked about, wetted surface in the water, or going wider. It's the reason I like some of the 16-foot boats for myself is I like paddling it and having a little more hull speed. The only drawback to a short, wide boat is it's going to be slower on the water. And then again, just showing you guys the full range of what they have here. This would be a similar boat to the Raccoon. This is a Mallard XL, so this is going to be a short, very stable boat that can be run with a motor. Rick, I don't think we put you in the Mallard XL. I think you used the big brother of this, which is the Heron, which is a 14.5-foot square stern. But again, super stable. A lot of guys like this with a small electric motor. It will take up to a 2.5, 3 horse motor. Great little boat for guys that may want to duck hunt or someone fishing in the marshes as well.
But for this one to go paddle solo, you don't have the option of, obviously, of setting on the shorter. On this
Yeah,
seat,
you
go that
can't
way,
because you're going to. A lot of times with the Mallard boat, again, this is a very wide boat, a flatter bottom. I don't recommend someone paddling this one solo.
Yeah.
You could for a short distance from this seat,
From back there.
but what I would more recommend someone doing would be to run something like this,
Yeah.
because you can see here you'd run it from this seat. Again, Rick and I are fishing buddies, but Rick, I have one of these at the house, and this would be a good boat for like when I take the dogs out. Like
Right.
this is a great boat for my dogs to go in. For someone that may hunt, it's really popular with guys that may want to hunt for guys that are putting in a tree stand. There's enough if they're bow hunting or deer hunting, but a lot of guys use this for waterfowl hunting. So that's, I mean, a wide range of boats. I mean, this is another boat that they sell here. You know, the cool thing here is once you decide on the shape boat that you want, you can work with Keith or Michael and really hone in on what material you want it made in, because pretty much all of the boats that we've discussed, there have been 2 or 3 different materials. If you want it to be lighter, mostly then you're going for a lighter boat.
Yeah.
Is the option you're really going after. This Trapper's a dynamite little boat. I think this is about 12 feet.
Yeah, it's a 12-foot boat.
Yeah, and this is actually wider than the Adirondack. So for someone who's like, well, I like that, but I wish it was a little more stable, or maybe a guy who's duck hunting, or a guy that wants to take 2 misbehaving dogs with him. The nicer thing to do here is that it is significantly wider, and it is going to give you a lot more initial stability. This again, we were talking about, you know, standing up and fishing. I again am not a huge fan of standing up and fishing in a short 12-foot boat, but again, because this one's wider and you do get that extra wetted surface area, the Trapper is a good choice for someone that wants to stand up and fly fish in a short 12-foot boat. It's typically, I'll tell someone to go to a 14-foot boat, and this is the one exception to that rule.
And what is that boat weigh, approximately?
Let me just check. It depends on the material. That particular one is 38 pounds, and that's in the Tough Stuff. So that's their Novacraft Tough Stuff material, which is a really durable material, and 38 pounds for a 12-foot boat. And we've seen pictures of people bringing an elk back in one. So.
So I was just saying, okay, one more boat to kind of give a shout out to, just because there's so many good boats here to fish from. I'm looking.
What are you looking
Where's the Prospector? Here we go. And here's a great option in a fishing canoe as well. Someone looking for a solo boat, someone thinking of a 14-foot. The Prospector 14 is an excellent boat. This one made by Novacraft. Again, it's just gonna be a little bit longer. It's kind of it's almost like if I don't know, the Prospector 15 and an Adirondack had a baby, what the baby would look like. Just a little bit shorter, going to be a little bit more maneuverable, going to be a little bit lighter than the 15-footer.
Yeah, 44 pounds in
Someone-
tough stuff.
Someone carrying a little more gear. You know, now again, what I said is, do people do overnight trips in the Adirondack? Yes. This would be a more fun boat to do an overnight trip in, just because you have that extra room for camping gear. Easily a multi-day river fishing trip, even like an Allagash trip would be a great boat for an solo Allagash trip. So again, a lot of boats here. It's pretty neat to come to a store like this, because you can pretty much really hone in on that boat that's going to make your paddling experience that much better. And having two knowledgeable guys like these guys, you know, they're going to help you to take the pros and cons, because there's pros to doing this over this, there's cons, and they can kind of walk you through all that and all the different materials, because there's definitely times where some materials shine, and there's times when some materials don't shine.
Absolutely true.
So that's, and any questions? Did we miss anything that anyone wanted to cover?
What's the one Esquif boat you would buy if you were a single paddler and you wanted to be able to have a fishing boat, yet still run class 2 and pack it? And you want a capacity of at least 500 pounds, 400 pounds.
You know, great boat there is a Prospector 15, and no offense intended. I weigh over 200. I weigh over 200 pounds. You're probably several pounds lighter than me. I'm actually more like 220, but you're probably 200, maybe 185. So I like the Prospector 15 for that very situation. It's you can also get it custom made in a 15-foot. So in that boat, we would only put in one seat, so that's going to lighten it a little bit. It would come with a yoke. If you were doing the white water as well, you can get it made with the you don't have a pocket canyon. Do you have a pocket canyon?
Yeah, over on the side.
Yeah, so the pocket canyon has the pad eyes in it, so that will hold your float bags in, and then you pretty much just need to put a D-ring in, a couple of D-rings to put float bags for the white water. But
I'm not going to float bag a Prospector. I go something more rocker, wouldn't you?
well, if you want to go a little more, if you want to go, I mean, that Prospector 15, I'll run a class 3 rapid in that every day of the week. If I want to play in a class 3 rapid, the Pocket Canyon's a great choice. The only the difference being is that when you go up to the Pocket Canyon, you pick up about an extra 1.5 inches of rocker, and if you are crossing any flat water sections, I'd rather try to get a 15-foot Prospector through a rapid than a pocket canyon across a lake.
Sure.
But that's just me personally. I do have friends that run pocket canyons across lakes, and I have friends that have run pocket canyons down the Allagash. I would never do that over a Prospector 15. Again, you guys sell Prospector 15 has to be, maybe now that this new bad boy is out, it might become a good seller, but Prospector 15 is probably one of the best boats ever made. And again, it goes well in team formats for guys that want to do the white water aspect. If you don't, suddenly you have versions from Rayon, or in the Kevlar, the carbon boats, the flax boats that we were talking about.
Yeah.
And again, in the fiberglass, the tough weed is great too.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you, David. Really appreciate it. Thank you all for coming. Hopefully it was good and useful for you. And you have any other questions going on, please feel free to reach out. All right. Thank you all.